This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Go Hayes gets a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, good afternoon, A's fans. We are back in business. This has kind of been like an episode of Where's Waldo? It should be Where's Townie? That's how we feel. We apologize yesterday because yesterday, obviously being a road game, we do the show from my home studio. I built a killer studio, right? But it's worthless when Xfinity knocks out all of your internet capabilities. And they do it 5 minutes after I wasn't even 5 minutes. It was like a couple minutes of the show. I'm like talking, next you know, we're gonzo. And literally, I'd probably say into like the third inning of the game yesterday, I get a text from Xfinity saying that, well, we had to call stuff off. We'll be back tomorrow. And you're like, are you serious? You cut our internet all day long, my entire block, like for blocks, the internet's gone. And they cut it. And then they come back with oh, yeah, we had to stop. I don't know. It's a long text, right? You've probably had this happen in your neighborhood. So I'm able to get everything back for the post-game show. All right, we're all good. No news about today. So about almost 11 o'clock today, oh, sorry, Xfinity customer, back on. And next thing I look outside, there's all these Xfinity trucks on my block. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So you warned me yesterday that it was going to be gone, but it was going to be all done in the morning. Didn't happen in the morning, and you didn't turn our stuff off till 2 o'clock. And I know that we're an Xfinity partner here with the Athletics. I'm just being honest. You get me yesterday, and then I wake up today, doing my stuff, getting ready for the show. Bang, you get me today. Oh, it's back on, and now there's trucks everywhere. So I'm at the Oakland Coliseum. And if I wasn't totally connected here, the way we're connected with all our different stuff, equipment, I'd turn my computer around and you'd actually get to see them taking down the stage from the Bad Bunny concert last night. It's a massive stage in center field. So hopefully this stage didn't do that much damage and we're not dealing with like what we would see with the Raiders when they would play here in preseason or the first game or so. And center field, because the scaffolding, what happens is when you put all the scaffolding down on the grass and then you'd put the stands on top, or like what I'm seeing right now, the Bad Bunny concert stage, what happens is the weight on top of the scaffolding suffocates the grass. Grass is a living organism. So it suffocates the grass, kills it, and then you just can't resod it, because if you resod it doesn't take root. And then even though we're rooted in Oakland, it doesn't take root. And you're essentially playing on grass that every single time you make any type of cut as a center fielder or anybody going into left center, right center, the grass just comes right up and athletes can get hurt. So it's really just better you're playing on dirt out there. And for all these years they'd paint it. And I would laugh that here you got a guy like Mike Trout, arguably one of the greatest players of all time, out in center field, playing on painted dirt, making over $400 million. How do you feel if you're the Angels owner and your center fielder's out there playing on dirt? You're probably all not that too thrilled about that, I can guarantee you.
We're
But
back to the Sandlot at that point, right?
that, by the way, that is the Karate Kid, Ray. Ray, how are you today?
I'm doing all right, Townie. Happy that we are just on in general.
Yeah, we're kicking it old school today. We're in this is the box that for all you A's fans, for all these years listening to all the pre-games and the post-games, this is the box that I've done it. Used to be I would share this with the visiting GMs, but they officially, after COVID, made this my box. It's the A's Cast box. And we're doing this straight off a computer, my ThinkPad computer camera. So no fancy cameras today. I got my light from NBC that I use for my hits for A's pre and post game live on NBC Sports California. I got that light going today, and we're kicking it old school. And the good news is we didn't have to record any of those hits today for television because today is a Fox game. And we are going to have the man who's doing the play-by-play for those games coming on here. Adam Amin is going to be coming on at 2 o'clock. Sparksy, Steve Sparks, our buddy, is going to be here at 1:30. Former Oakland Athletic knuckleballer, longtime pitcher in Major League Baseball, now does Astros radio, will be here at 1:30. And then an interview that I did yesterday with Scott Emerson that you didn't get to hear, that you got to hear bits and pieces of in A's Total Access, you're going to hear the full interview today with Emo at 2:30. So Sparks at 1:30, Amin at 2 o'clock, and Emerson at 2:30. The thing that I want to start today, because there is so much that I have to talk about that I didn't get to yesterday because the show, we didn't have the Wi-Fi, didn't have the internet. And then just what is going on today, as there's a lot going on in Major League Baseball. Get you updated on the scoreboard because the scores matter. White Sox are trying to track down the Guardians, and they're beating the Guardians in Cleveland right now, bottom of the ninth, 8-2. That is big. Where do the standings sit right now? 19 to play. And the White Sox are 4 back. They're moments away from winning this thing. They're only 3 back. Their destiny right now is in their own hands. Other scores going on. Big implications. Tampa in Toronto. They lead 4-0. That is in the bottom of the third. Where does that play? Well, we start talking about wild card and standings. And right now, Tampa is a game and a half back in the standings in the AL East to the Toronto Blue Jays. These games are massive right now. Playoff implications. The game that we have going on today, you'd think, no big deal, but it is a big deal because the Astros' magic number for the AL West is 7. And they're trying to get the number 1 seed. That gives them the bye, and it means everything's got to go. If they keep moving on, everything has to go through Houston. So we're playing those games now at this time of the year. Where you win is where it sets you up for the postseason. Do you want to have a bye? I think so. Now, how you handle this is very interesting. And I brought this up yesterday in my third inning hit with Vince Cotroneo. Baseball is not a sport where you want to have time off, right? This isn't like, hey, we get a week off, everybody go to the beach. It's the Dodgers. We've wrapped this thing up. No. Baseball players are creatures of habit. Look at 06 with the A's. You take that time off in between playoff series, you come out, look flat. Other team been grinding. They don't look flat. You go home. Now, there really is no right or wrong. By the way, Ray, do I look dark?
You look fine to me. Fair complexion and all, but yeah, the lighting looks fine.
Oh, you know what? It's because my computer was on trying to save the battery. All right, there we go. I'm like, why does it look so dark? Because I'm going to let you know today, if you're not looking outside and you're not around the Coliseum, here in the East Bay today. It is it's a cloudy day. We have been so used to all this heat, beautiful summer days here at the Coliseum. It's back to overcast. It's actually really nice. But normally in this booth, because I know you'll be shocked of how well the Coliseum is taken care of, my lights don't work in this booth. So usually the lighting that we have comes from the sun, and there's no sun today. So we may be a little dark, but we'll go through it. But yeah, this is how are teams going to play with this? I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, how are you going to handle? We've wrapped this baby up. I mean, the Dodgers have this. The Dodgers got everything wrapped up. Like, even though they got a few more games left to wrap up the number 1 seed. But once Dave Roberts wraps up that number 1 seed, how do you start? Freddie Freeman's played every game. Like, you're not going to give guys like 4 weeks off. I mean, you're not going to give guys like a week off. And you're going to want some guys to take some rest. And now you're going to have a bye. This is something we've never seen before. Something that they deal with in the National Football League. When you wrap up the number 1 seed and you have that bye, and the 2nd seed you have that bye, how do you handle it? How do you handle that last game of the year? You don't want anybody to get hurt. Football's obviously different from baseball, but you don't want anybody to get hurt. But yet, how many weeks off do you want your players to have? Because you've seen teams that just go full-blown rest in football. Full-blown. I think this hurt the Indianapolis Colts before with Peyton Manning, where they went full-bore rest, had all the rest in the world, and they come right out, and then they get smoked in their playoff. Well, they don't get smoked because they got Peyton Manning, but they lose their playoff game because they don't have their edge. You haven't been hitting. You haven't been playing. I mean, this is a sport. You can't lose that edge. That's why you see people like let's say in tennis or in golf, where you see them want to play some type of, you want to be in competition before a major. Like you see in golf. A lot of times Tiger in his prime or Phil Mickelson in his prime, Jack Nicklaus, they wanted to play the week before. So you were in tournament mode. So if you're a baseball player, just sitting around taking BP and throwing bullpens doesn't keep you sharp. But you want to you just played 6 months of baseball. You want to get your guys feeling good. You want to give them some rest. But how much rest? How much are you going to see Dusty Baker and the Astros? What are they going to do? Do you want to grind it to the very end and then rest because you got a little time off with the bye? That's kind of where I would lean. I mean, for me, what I would do, and I think it's like the dumbest thing in the world, and it would be interesting if we got like a sports psychologist in here to talk about this. But one of the things that when I ever hear a guy's getting a rest and I see him out grinding, taking BP and still taking ground balls and doing all, I'm like, that's not a day off. How's that a day off? Oh, and then now they're going to sit the bench. Oh, but now you want him to pinch hit in the 8th inning. That's not a day off. If I'm Dusty, if I'm Dave Roberts, I'm saying, listen, Freddie Freeman, don't come to the ballpark today. What, Skip? What? Yeah, don't come to the ballpark. You know what I want you to do? Go to the movies. Go play a round of golf. I want you to not show up. I'm not allowing you to show up to Dodger Stadium or Minute Maid Park. I do not want you coming here. Go take your wife to lunch. After, take your kids to the park. Go to a movie. Get off your feet. That's why I almost thinking playing golf might be a bad idea. Get off your feet. Watch Netflix all day. Just don't even watch our game. Take a mental health day. And then you're going to come back tomorrow. And by the way, you're not playing again tomorrow. I want you to take BP, get a massage. And then the third day, I'm going to put you back in the lineup. So I want you one day off your feet, not doing baseball. Next day, I want you to come here, get a lift in, do BP, get a massage, boom, and then you'll be back on the field. That's how I would handle it. I I want to get a couple days off your feet, but I want you to lose your edge. I want you to get back in there and facing 100 miles an hour. But I would start picking and choosing guys on what I'm going to do to get my team ready for the playoffs. Because too much time off, too much time just taking BP, too much time just stretching, too much time not facing 100. Because that's something you got to realize. And we get told this all the time. Pitching's different. Yes, it is. It's different in baseball now. You're facing 100+ miles an hour over and over and over again. And I don't want you losing that edge. Now, I want you to take some time for yourself, but that's what I want you to do. From an A's standpoint today, something that happened yesterday that for sure I got to figure out my power situation here. That's the other thing you forget about when you're doing the show with all these equipment. You look down at your computer and you go, oh, my God, I'm almost out of juice. But don't worry, we're good. This is something, and we could do like a top 3 things that you want to see. We got 19 games left. What are the top 3 things that you want to see? And for me, I'm going to give you number 1. And this is plain and simple. I thought you probably didn't stick around. I don't blame you. Last night's game was 3 hours and 40 minutes. Last night's game was a total example of what is wrong with Major League Baseball and why we need change, and thank God it's coming. I mean, you could even go into the Red Sox-Yankees game that was just a 5-3 score. Ray, take a guess. No home runs. Aaron Judge didn't go deep. Nobody hit a home run. It was a standard Major League Baseball game, 5-3, nothing crazy. How long do you think it took?
Well, if this is your average game, I would guess close to the average time, which I think is around 3 hours and 7 minutes.
My light just went out. What the heck happened? Oh, wow. That's not cool. How about that? My light literally just went out.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Oakland Coliseum, ladies and gentlemen. Lights don't work. If you guys, you know, we should do one show. We should really get a camera and just follow me. And I take you through the bowels of the Coliseum. Just so you really know what it looks like. All right? Forget that there's possums running around everywhere. There's rats running around everywhere. Hopefully all these cats are keeping them away. But just to go down to really look at how old the infrastructure is of a stadium that is 66 years old. I mean, that 66. That was built in 1966. I mean, at this time, when they were building it in 1966, it was really smart. You were building these facilities that were going to be able to house a lot of different events, like a Bad Bunny concert, like Major League Baseball, like the Oakland Raiders. That's what it was for. We're building a facility in a community where everybody can take part in that. And it's really more what the arena model is. The arena, an arena model is, we build it for the Golden State Warriors or the San Jose Sharks. But the reality is the community gets it far more than that. You get it for all the concerts. You get it for all the events. There's conventions that are done. There's, Disney on Ice shows up for 5 days, whoever. There's always Paul McCartney's in town. I mean, there's always something going on other than a basketball or a hockey game. But that's what these stadiums were essentially built on, was doing that. So wherever you went, could be in Oakland. Don't forget San Francisco, Giants and Niners. I mean, everywhere you went. I mean, back in the day down in Anaheim, it was the Rams and the Angels. San Diego was the Padres and Chargers. Pittsburgh was the Steelers and Pirates. Cincinnati was the Reds and the Bengals. Miami, they had the Dolphins going and the Marlins going at Joe Robbie. So everywhere, I mean, the old Metrodome in Minnesota had the Vikings and Twins. And if you go way back, and I don't think a lot of fans know this, but Soldier Field, well, that wasn't always there. Back in the day, the Cubs and the Bears shared Wrigley Field. The Boston Patriots played football at Fenway Park with the Boston Red Sox. Even our old Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium has some of the most historic football games of all time, including the 1956 NFL title game between the Giants and the Colts. I believe it was 56. I mean, they had boxing matches at Yankee Stadium. I mean, these facilities were always built to house multiple things, but then people figured out, well, we want to have our own digs. We want to have what's cool. We want to have nice. I mean, we evolve as people. We evolve as fans. We evolve as towns. So all of a sudden, a place like Camden Yards gets built. Everybody wants one of those. And, let's be honest. We can look just right across the bay. I'm pointing that way to San Francisco, and we see what the Giants Stadium has done for that community in that area. So it works. So that's why it's almost like a day like this where I should take you with a camera and go, let's actually see what all the carpeting looks like. Let's see what the bowels of the stadium look like. It's not good. I can tell you, it is not good. But we can save that for another time. All right, the number one thing that I want to see. Dermis Garcia. And by the way, his ants are going all the way around on my equipment. Dermis Garcia is who I want to see. I want you to think about giving a 24-year-old who people have always thought he can hit, giving him an opportunity. He's big. He's strong. Still young. But now at 24, when you've been in pro ball as long as he has been, it's go time. Right? I mean, what they have, where's my scorebook here? I was cracking up last night. I don't know. Ray, did you watch the entire game?
Not the entire game, but I watched bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's okay.
What everyone else did.
Just admit it. You didn't watch it, and you know what? You shouldn't have. It was awful. 3 hours and 40 minutes. 31 rookies as of last night, 18 of them pitchers. Right? And we keep getting force-fed this whole thing. Oh, my God, another rookie, and we got all these rookies, even though we're still playing a bunch of older guys. But 24 is not young. They've tried to sell you this garbage now in baseball for years about how these guys need all these at-bats and all these appearances in baseball, blah, 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 blah. It's crap. It's absolute crap. You're hearing it right here. It's crap. Guy's 24 years old. Dermis Garcia has been playing professional baseball for a long time. He has been collecting a check to play baseball for a long time. It's time to go for him. Or it's time you got to start finding something else to do. When you've been doing this since you're a teenager, some point lights got to go on and you got to perform. And he's doing it. And we're benefiting from it. So, my number one thing, and I heard Stephen vote in the post game, and God bless him, and everything he's saying, it sounds good. It's just not real. Every game means something. No, it doesn't. Because if the A's get out next year, out to a bad start, and they're 10 games under 500, we're not going to go, hey, remember when the A's won that game in Texas, and it was 3 hours and 40 minutes, and how much that meant? Every pitch, every at-bat meant to everybody. And we're now months later, and the team is still not playing well. And I'll look like the ass that comes out and go, hey, remember when Stephen Vogt said this really matters? Obviously, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm sorry. What happens today is not going to matter organization-wise 6 months from now. It just doesn't work that way. And coaches and players, they need to convince themselves that, what they're doing is, this is building for the future. Let me tell you something. We go to spring training and we got a completely new group of players. What were we building with this group then? If you can guarantee me that all these players that are going to be in the lineup today are going to be there at spring training and going to be there for game 1 next year, I might buy it, but they won't be. So that's why so much, one of my notes here today is don't listen to uniform personnel or front offices. That's one of my notes, swear to God, for today. And I will get into that. Don't listen to them. Do not. They're saying a lot of things right now that are just flat out wrong, especially about time of games and pitch clock. They don't like change. You can't listen to them. They're in a little bubble world called professional athlete, and they think that everybody else doesn't understand what they're doing. It's hogwash. So, love Stephen Vogt. Guy's going to be a manager someday. Grade A. But what he after he was saying last night, no. Do not buy it. That is a stock I would not buy because that is a stock that is going to fail. The only thing that matters to me, I want to see Dermis Garcia play. I can bring up Nick Allen. We can talk about that Pache. I want to see Dermis Garcia got taken out of the game for Stephen Vogt and ended up working. Seager made the error. But Dermis Garcia is a big right-handed hitting first baseman who, wait for it, if you're not looking, because what do they want to drill into us? Splits. Everybody wants to play the splits game. What's a splits? Right-handed hitter hammers lefties. He hammers lefties, but he can't hit righties. Oh, boy, that's a problem. That's a problem. Well, not anymore, folks, because Dermis Garcia hammers righties. He's got reverse splits. Dermis Garcia, as of right now, is hitting .324 against right-handed pitchers, .238 against lefties. Do I want to see that go up against lefties? You bet I do. But he's hitting against righties. What does that tell you? That tells you great news. Play him every day. You might have a first baseman that's going to work. That's why we got to see it. You should be excited about Dermis Garcia. 24 years old, coming into his own. He's hitting right-handers, just not for power. He's hitting for average. He's making contact. Like right out of the gate, we love Chandeliers and we had fun with it, but he is struggling to make contact. Christian Pache does not make contact. And when he does, it's weak contact. Nick Allen struggles. You're seeing a guy not struggling. It's been big. Is it a big sample size? No. But I got to go on what I'm seeing right now. And if he finishes these 19 games super strong, like he's doing, where he's hitting the ball at the ballpark and hitting for average against right-handed hitters, what are we talking about here? What have we been doing? You think I want to see Seth Brown at first base or Stephen Vogt at first base? Have we found a first baseman who's right-handed and hits the ball at the ballpark? Do you know the asset that is right out of the gate? If you can give me a guy that cannot replace Matt Olson, but at least can replace a lot of the numbers. Remember Moneyball? How do we replace Giambi? In the aggregate. What does that mean? Well, we're going to get this guy, and this guy, and combined, that's going to help replace Giambi. Well, what if you just get this guy who hits home runs, drive-in runs, hits for average, and doesn't kill you defensively? He's cheap, and he hits. Sounds like an Oakland A already. That's the number one thing that I want to see the rest of the way. Is this real? We'll give you 2 and 3 a little bit later, but that is one right now for me. Because I feel better about the pitching. I think pitching is going to be the one thing at Ho-Ho-Cam we will talk about. Spring training goes, we can hang our hat on something. You got some pitching.
Sparks is ready for us, by the way.
We got Sparksy.
We got him.
Steve Sparks, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're ready for a little Astros A's for 4 days. You guys are still playing for something. You got to get this division title and the number 1 seed.
Yeah, so the magic numbers are dwindling. The Astros are playing pretty well. And I think the best news around the camp right now is that Justin Verlander, who's going to pitch tomorrow, comes off the IL. So they're going to have to juggle that 6-man pitching rotation a little bit to make room, but that's a great problem to have right now.
Yeah, Verlander coming back. I was reading in these notes where people are trying to say, well, Dylan Cease, because he's not hurt, that he's creeping up on the American League Cy Young Award. Then he recently didn't have that great of an outing. So Verlander coming back. Now, Valdez for you guys, you could make a case he should be getting votes too. I'm sure you guys are talking a lot about the American League Cy Young Award down there in Houston.
That's right. Yeah. So it's 24 consecutive games now with a quality start for Framber Valdez. Has to put him in the discussion now. His ERA is 2.5. So I think Verlander's is 1.8, something like that. And Dylan Cease, Alek Manoah certainly have to be in the conversation. So what Framber Valdez has done, and we started to talk about it once he got to 21 consecutive quality starts, that every pitcher, and there's about 10 or 12 of them that had made it to that point, had 21 consecutive quality starts in a season. Every single one of them had won the Cy Young Award in that season. So, and he's not even being really discussed right now. I think he's outside of the top 3, but he might sneak in there and get some votes.
Well, we're paying attention. It's so weird now how we're like the one sport that doesn't put context to anything. We just want to just look at pure stats and we put no context. And we could look at that really at the American League MVP. And you hear all the time, well, it's not fair that this guy's not on a good team. And this is not fair. And that's not fair. And it's like, I don't care if it's not fair. There's still something to me about a guy like Verlander going out there and winning on a team that is winning. There's still something that matters when there's pressure and you're playing for something.
You know what? I'm sorry. I like wins too. That means you're going deeper into the ball games. And you look at the innings pitch, what he gives you. Here's another great statistic for Verlander. He's perfect after a loss this season for the Astros. I think he's a perfect 9-0 in 11 starts following an Astros loss. That's the perfect definition of an ace and a stopper. And he's that guy. He's John Wayne. When he goes out there and he gets a big punch out, it looks like he's on the red carpet. I mean, he's the headliner, and the Astros go into a postseason series. You stick him in the number 1 slot, and you feel pretty good about yourself.
I can't tell you how much I got to fight these kids who work around me, who they all try and tell me wins don't matter for starting pitching, even though we just honored Dave Stewart here on Sunday, who was all about winning, won 20 games, 4 straight years. They don't have the guts to go tell Stu that wins don't matter for a starting pitcher, but they'll tell me. And now I've come back with this. I've come back with, and of course you started for many years, I go, what is the value of a starting pitcher who doesn't win games and plays on a team that doesn't win, and he only goes 6 or 5 innings every 5 days? What value do you really have to the grand scheme of things?
You can even say it like this, Chris. You can say that pitcher makes the team worse, and he makes it harder for the next day's starter because the bullpen is shot. if you got to cover 3 1/3 innings every time he takes the hill, what good is that? I just don't see that making his team better. So I'm a big proponent. Innings pitched, I think, matter. You know, and we're starting to see more guys get a little deeper into the game. The best pitchers, I look at Aaron Nola, Justin Verlander types, Framber Valdez, who go consistently deep into the ball game. He makes every single player on the Astros better, including his bullpen and including the next day starter and maybe the next day after that, because he's got a fresh closer because of what he did that 2 days before.
I am really curious to see how we're going to handle the end of the season, because we've seen this, and it's a debate that still happens in the NFL. All right, we've got the best team in the NFL. We've got everything wrapped up. We got home field advantage. All right, it's the last week of the season. Are we going to really play, guys? And then we got the bye week. And then all of a sudden that team that's basically taken a couple weeks off comes out in the playoffs and lays an egg in their first game. We've never had to deal with this in baseball. I was talking about it before you came on. You know, if you're somebody like Dave Roberts or you're Dusty Baker and you've got everything wrapped up, how are you going to handle not only the rest of the way and getting guys some rest, but then also they're going to get rest with a bye week or the first round bye. We've never seen that. So how do you handle it? What's the best way?
I think you handle it a little differently because it is different this year. And I think you play out your schedule and you keep guys with a pretty regular routine as far as getting their ABs and keeping their timing as much as you can until game 162. And it's going to be October 5th, the last day of the season, until October 11th for the Astros to play live action again. They've dealt with certain things like this before. I think they're good at trying to figure out what they need to do to have inter-squad games and do things of that nature. But you're right, it's not the same. But, you know, at the same time, you do get guys off their feet. They get a little fresh. And maybe that first game you come back, you're a little rusty. Then I think you hit the ground running. And you're just hoping, you know, a guy like Verlander who pitches in game one can take care of the rest.
Yeah, I mean, you like to have some rest, but I mean, don't you think this is something that's going to be looked at? And if you don't, like, let's just say, like the Astros struggle in the playoffs or the Dodgers struggle, there a lot of people are being looking at this for the first time and looking to see how you rested your players and how you dealt with it.
Would you rather keep playing and have a chance not to go to the next round or have that bye? And I think the answer is 100%. You'd rather take that bye and take your chances at getting the automatic bid into the American League Division Series. So I think that comes with a bit of prestige. And, you know, there might be a drawback or two with sitting for a little bit. But I think guys need a rest at this time of year. And, you know, it's just making sure that you don't get stale. You got to make sure that you stay active to a degree. But you miss that speed, you miss that, you know, that adrenaline, and you know, you can't hardly match what some of these younger players like Jeremy Pena's never played in a playoff atmosphere, so he's going to feel this for the first time. So I think just being able to realize, and we've talked about this, Chris, even when the Astros and A's were playing against each other in the playoffs, the way the Astros go about their business, they don't treat it like a different game. They treat it like every other game as far as their preparation and how they go about their business. And I think that's what's made them pretty consistent lately.
Yeah, and you can't doubt the success of the Houston Astros and throw the LA Dodgers in there. This run that both of them on is just fantastic in this era of baseball. Yordan Alvarez is hitting like 8,000 against the A's this year. I know he's been dealing with some soreness in his wrist. I think it's his right wrist. Is he back? How's he doing? Were we going to see him in the next 4 days?
He's in left field tonight, you know, so it's a little balky, maybe a little weak, but I would say in the last 6 games in particular, he's getting the ball in the air. And that was the problem, I think, for a month, Chris, where he only had 1 homer in a month's time. And in a season where I think he's got 33 home runs this year, he just didn't look right. You know, a lot of balls were on the ground. Now, he might hit the ball 108, 109 miles per hour, but it was on the ground. He wasn't getting that elevation. But we're starting to see whatever it is with his posture or whatever he's doing with his wrist position. He's getting the ball in the air again. And when he does that, he's very dangerous. And that's what we've seen here lately. There's a little miscommunication. I think Dusty Baker felt like he needed a rest that last game and may need rest today. But he spoke to the media after the game yesterday. Yordan Alvarez did, and said going forward, he didn't anticipate much of an issue at all. He's starting to feel a lot better at the plate, and especially health-wise.
I remember the first time we saw Kyle Tucker, and when he came rolling up with no batting gloves, I was like, right on, old school, like George Brett, no batting gloves. Just give me some pine tar, spit on my hands, and let's go. And to watch that pretty stroke and to watch him grow, I mean, he's looking at a 100 RBI season. Just talk about his growth and how he's become one of your better players.
You know, I was a little skeptical when you first saw him, and I loved his brother. First of all, Preston Tucker, his older brother, was on the Astros for a couple of seasons, and we got to know Kyle a little bit because he knew he was a great high school player, and he would show up around the ballpark from time to time. So got to know the family and realized that it was a pretty cool group. But then when he showed up, I was a little skeptical because that swing looked a little long. You know, it just looks like it kind of starts from behind him a little bit. And then when you start to break it down a little bit, you understand that it's very efficient. And you watch guys throwing 97 miles per hour inside, he's still able to keep an inside pitch fair. So, you know, he's doing a lot of things right with the long levers and everything. But, man, he's on the verge of becoming a 25-25 player this year. He's 22 for 24 in stolen base attempts. And then the home run power, 26 or 27 home runs. And he's an all-star. And he's going to be on Team USA in the WBC. I think a lot of people are recognizing that him as an outfielder, as a base runner, a base stealer, and an offensive threat. He's one of the better, probably American League outfielders that we have in the game right now. And he posts up every day, but he's been a lot of fun to watch progress. You recognized it early. You know, you start to get an affinity for a guy who does things that old school way. And every once in a while, he might go through a 1 for 17 and show up with some batting gloves for a game, but they don't last very long.
You know, and I'm just looking at the standings right now, and we'll see if Cleveland is going to hold everybody off. But obviously, it's going to be tough for anybody now to catch the Yankees. It's going to be, I mean, you guys are going to blow out the West, obviously. So if you look at this group of Yankees, Cleveland, Toronto, Seattle, Tampa. We'll have to see about the White Sox in Minnesota. But when you look at Yankees, Cleveland, Toronto, Seattle, Tampa, are there any teams that you go, that's not the greatest matchup for the Astros?
Yeah, you know what? Probably Toronto. I would say the Yankees have done very well against the Yankees, and they've got some postseason history against them as well. In particular, there's some matchups. Christian Javier in particular, who I think is thrown 13 innings against the Yankees this year and has only given up 1 hit and struck out 25. So there, you know, matchups wise, you start to look at different things. And when I see a couple of guys on the Blue Jays in particular, they look like a really tough matchup, and they all are. And Seattle's playing great baseball right now, and you know that city's in a fever pitch, so you know that'll add to the juice that they have. But everybody's dangerous, and we've talked about it this time of year before, Chris. Whoever gets hot at this time of year is got the best chance. I didn't think Atlanta was going to get to the World Series, and you know, you get to the World Series. I mean, they were a handful, and what they ran out of their bullpen the last 5 innings of every game. I mean, the Astros had no answer for. So who gets hot, who's fresh, who's healthy, and who's playing the best baseball, and who's the most confident at the right time usually wins. It's not always the best team. So when you look at matchups, I'll say Toronto on paper looked like the toughest one for Houston.
Do you like that now that we're truly in a tournament format, and the tournament is you're just rolling the dice, you have no idea?
I like it for two things. One reason I love the playoffs is for a selfish reason, is usually there's 2, maybe 3 games, and then you have a day off, and you're able to reset and bring out, postseason context to add to your broadcast. The other reason I like playoff baseball is because it seems way less selfish to me. It feels like it's more of a team game, especially offensively. And then you start to see guys move the ball. Situational hitting becomes more prevalent in these lower scoring, tight games. And I love that brand. And the Astros play a pretty good brand of that.
You know what's crazy is you said that on this program last year. And I remember when you said that, and it like stuck with me. We were down on the field doing it, and I went, wow, he's right. And that's like kind of sad, but it's so true that all of a sudden, like, my numbers don't count for contract or arbitration, or now I'm just trying to win. You're like, wouldn't that be the mindset for 162 games? But obviously it's not.
It's not, because the guys don't get paid. When you look at WAR and how guys calculate WAR, it's not really conducive for manufacturing runs. Let's say it that way. So I like the way they play it in the playoffs. And it's funny that you say you can remember me saying that, because I get reminded of it. Every single year we get to that first game, something happens within that first game, Chris, that I notice that, hey, this is a little different. Look at these secondary leads off the second base right now by these guys. They're going to score on contact no matter what. The game becomes more fundamentally beautiful to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's and whenever you say it, I go, God, he's dead on. It's just, it is what it is. Hey, before you get out of here, we always like to do the public service announcement. We've been talking a lot about how men need to get their prostate checked. They needed to have the test and go get, go have a blood test. You got to make sure you got your annual checkup. You got to get your physical. And of course, with you, with the heart, what is it that they need to have checked when they do have their blood test?
Yeah, get your blood test and ask them for your calcium score. That doesn't automatically come with those results. And you get that calcium score and you realize what's in that bloodstream. And if that calcium score is a little high, you might need to change things as far as your diet goes to get those things pumping like you want them to. So the calcium score, get that checked out. It might cost you an extra $50 in your blood work.
By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but we hit over 5 million downloads here on A's Cast, making us by far the #1 podcast and show in Major League Baseball for the teams. And you've been a big part of this so many years coming on with us. I just wanted to say thank you for your support and the time you've given us. It's been a very big help, and you know how much we appreciate it.
Well, thanks for saying that. It doesn't surprise me at all. This is a great show. You do a phenomenal job. And, I don't want to suck up to you too much, because we're going to have to battle on the golf course at some point. But I love coming on with you guys. So anytime you need me to come on, I'm happy to be here with you.
Great stuff, my man. Have a good call and enjoy this series.
All right, Tony. Take care, buddy.
The great Steve Sparks join us here on A's Cast Live, former A's pitcher, knuckleballer for the Oakland Athletics, and now does a great job as something you don't see often. Former player turned broadcaster, but he's play-by-play. Most guys you see, they're analysts, right? And that's awesome that they do that, and it makes our sport and our broadcast so much better. But it's like I always loved when my man Ray Fossey did play-by-play. I loved Fossey's play-by-play. I mean, he could do it, and it was legit. But, I mean, he the way he sees the game. So to be able to do that, I know Dwayne Kuiper has been a master at that across the bay. G. Kuiper's older brother with the Giants. Dwayne Kuiper, play-by-play, not Dwayne Kuiper, color guy. I mean, that's been the thing about Dwayne, is that he's been a play-by-play guy. There's not a ton of ex-players who have done that. Would you agree, Ray? Or are you going to disagree with me on Ray Fossey and Dwayne Kuiper, former teammates for then the Cleveland Indians, and 2 guys voted as top 100 Indians of all time?
I would not dream of it. Absolutely not. Fossey was fantastic. I heard him bits and pieces over on the East Coast because, of course, don't get a ton of West Coast games over in Pennsylvania. But when I could listen, I absolutely enjoyed what I heard from Ray Fossey.
All right, I know you got it queued up and we wanted to play it. As Thursday is Roberto Clemente Day. And just going back and looking at Roberto Clemente's stats, I think he died the year I was born. Yeah, he did, 1972. So never got to see Clemente play. 18 years in Major League Baseball. Think about that. 18 years. And his last hit before he passed away tragically in the plane crash on a humanitarian mission was number 3,000. It was the end of the season. Roberto Clemente, you look at his numbers. First, just go down. MVP, 15-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glove winner, 4-time batting champion, 2-time World Series hero, and a World Series MVP. 2-time World Series champion, I should say, World Series hero, because that's what you are when you're the World Series MVP. How about that resume? Let's do that again. Baseball Hall of Fame, MVP, 2-time World Series champion, World Series MVP, 15-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glove winner, and a 4-time batting champion. I mean, that is just... And the highlights just show the man had just a rocket arm. I mean, he did it all. And, you know, the thing that I always see on video that I find so interesting, really two guys, two of the greatest hitters of all time. One guy who you probably could make a case is the greatest hitter of all time, if you look at stats, would be Hank Aaron. Because Hank Aaron should have the most home runs of all time, and he's third in hits. That's the one thing a lot of people don't know. Only Pete Rose and Ty Cobb have more hits than Henry Aaron. Unbelievable. I mean, really, it's unbelievable. But when you think of a guy who's like a five-tool player, and when I think of Clemente and I think of Henry Aaron, the thing that's so interesting, and you would not teach this today, is they hit off their front foot. Everything came forward, and you think of your left leg. I'm going to show you my left leg here. Everything is off this leg. Everything turned off this left leg. It was your power source. Kind of how golfers will put all the pressure on their left leg. They call it stack and tilt. They want to hit everything off. Everything's pushing off. Everything's off your left side and your left hip. Well, you don't teach that. Because God knows you wouldn't teach that. Your head's moving all around. You got to have just super strong hands, and you're hitting everything. And those guys, we're in the launch angle revolution. Those guys weren't launching it. They had line drive swings. And they were handsy, and they were hitting off their front side. Head was moving, but man. Once again, Henry Aaron, 755 home runs and over 3,700 hits. Third most, only Pete Rose, Ty Cobb. A lot of people don't even think about that. That's how great Henry Aaron was as an offensive force. And Roberto Clemente obviously didn't have the power, but you look at the numbers, man, 3,000 hits, lifetime 317 average, OPS, lifetime 834, OPS plus, lifetime 130. 240 dingers, 1,305 RBIs, scored a boatload of runs, 1,416. The man did it all. He had 166 triples. Triples. A's fans, we went half a season without one. I can't remember. Ray, do you remember what it was, like 82, 81, something like that, games we went without a triple?
That sounds right. I'll look up the exact number.
Yeah. We went half a season where our entire lineup didn't get a triple. This guy had 166 in his career. But on this day...
81 games, by the way, for the triple.
We went half a season basically without a triple. How disgusting is that? So, obviously, today is the day we honor Roberto Clemente. And the Roberto Clemente Award and our own Tony Kemp has been nominated. And I have a list of every guy who's won it. Last year, it was Nelson Cruz. The very first ever Roberto Clemente Award winner was Willie Mays. Prior to the Pirates-Mets game at Citi Field, past 14 winners are going to participate in the pregame. Roberto Clemente's family is going to be there. Marks the 50th anniversary of Clemente's tragic passing in a plane crash on New Year's Eve, 1972, while attempting to deliver supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. And I believe Willie Mays is going to be there. Willie Mays got the first ever Roberto Clemente Award. Pretty unbelievable. So just looking at all the different guys who are nominated this year, and of course for us, Tony Kemp. And we know everything that Tony Kemp does for baseball. You know, it's one of these awards that I love how they do it in the NFL, that if you win the Walter Payton Award, that you will have that logo on your jersey for the rest of your career. I think it's something we should do in baseball so that everybody sees it, right? You know, I mean, we saw it on Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson, now with the Broncos, has that, has the football player in the cape. I know Herschel Walker is running for governor down in Georgia. Herschel wears a necklace that has that emblem. I mean, in the NFL, it is a big deal, a really big deal. I think it's a big deal in baseball. We should do the same. If you win the Roberto Clemente Award, we should have a patch on your jersey wherever you play, wherever you go, wherever your travels take you. You're in Houston, you're in Oakland, you're in LA, you're in New York, you're in Kansas City, you're in Miami, wherever. Whatever, you should be honored. And make all the other players really understand. And we should educate our players. We should educate our players on Roberto Clemente. We should educate. They're young. These guys are kids. This happened a long time ago. You know, they don't all know really about Jackie Robinson. I hate to tell you. And then I bring it up every year. It's a crying shame. Larry Doby. Larry Doby did the exact same thing Jackie Robinson did months later, not years later, months later in the American League. And I guarantee you, if I went into our clubhouse today and said, hey, guys, who's Larry Doby? How many of our players do you think would even know? Guy did the exact same thing and went through the exact same problems that Jackie Robinson went in. And he was a Cleveland Guardian, Cleveland Indian great. Larry Doby had an unbelievable career. Then managed. He's in the Hall of Fame. You think our players know who Larry Doby is? We're an American League team. Larry Doby did what Jackie Robinson did in the National League, and we should educate everybody on these things in our game. No question. All right, coming up next, we're going to have Scott Emerson. I'm just checking our you know what? Ray, I think for everything that we've dealt with the last 2 days, going pretty well.
Yeah, I'm counting our blessings for sure. It's a miracle every day.
Nothing like being in Oakland, and you're the only guy here other than the construction guys who are breaking down the Bad Bunny concert set. Coming up next, the pitching coach of your Oakland Athletics right here on A's Cast Live.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fossey line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com lastdivebar.com.
The Eno Sarah Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Hey Ace fans, check out Longport Fish Company, an exciting new chef-driven seafood restaurant located in the Veranda Shopping Center in Concord. Longport features the highest quality lobsters, oysters, king salmon, flavorful cioppino, and much, much more. It features a full bar of craft cocktails, local brews, and a curated wine list. Longport Fish Company is for all occasions too. Date night, business meetings, catching an A's game at the bar, or bringing the whole family. Check us out at longportfc.com, on Yelp, and on all social media.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, Oakland and Kaiser Permanente. If that last one caught you off guard, it shouldn't, because Kaiser Permanente has been helping keep Oakland healthy since our very beginning. And as the official healthcare partner of the Oakland A's, that won't be changing anytime soon. Whatever you may need, you can trust Kaiser Permanente to help keep you feeling your best. Kaiser Permanente. Thrive. Visit kp.org today.
Coming in at 5'3", it's #1 mom. She switched to Xfinity and got the all-new 3-for-1 bundle. Unlimited internet, streaming, and Xfinity Mobile. All for what you could pay wireless companies for just one 5G unlimited line. Boom shakalaka. Go to Xfinity.com/3-for-1, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
Join the A's and celebrate the Bay. Your Oakland Athletics kick off a 3-game set against the Mets Friday, September 23rd with a special post-game fireworks show featuring the Bay Area's best hits.
Throws and it's swung and hit the right field, deep in the corner, and that's going to be gone, and it's back to back to back.
Savor the last moments of summer and take yourself out to the ballpark for a must-see fireworks show presented by Delta Dental. Tickets start at just $15. Secure your seats at athletics.com today.
When Northern California businesses need some pop in their lineup, they call the bank rooted in the East Bay. Mechanics Bank. Since 1905, Mechanics Bank has been helping Bay Area and Northern California businesses find success and perform at the top of their game. See how they can make a difference in your business today. Call or stop by your local branch or visit mechanicsbank.com. Mechanics Bank, the official East Bay bank of the Oakland A's. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hey A's fans, we've got a great deal for you. Get 4 tickets and parking for all Friday night games starting at just $39. Pick from great matchups, post-game fireworks and drone shows, giveaways, and more.
Outside corner, ring him up. And Eaton can't believe it.
Grab the crew and head to the Coliseum with friends and family any Friday night this season. 4 tickets and parking starting at just $39 for the whole group. Tickets are available at athletics.com. That's athletics.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Bay Area locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. nestbetting.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Betting, love where you sleep.
Innovation that's at the heart of Cal State East Bay, like at our Green Biome Institute, where faculty and students map genes from California's endangered plants, or how we open doors for local entrepreneurs at our Small Business Development Center. From educators to nurses to STEM professionals, Cal State East Bay has real impact throughout the region's neighborhoods, boardrooms, and entire economy. Be part of the innovation. Connect with Cal State East Bay at csueastbay.edu/impact.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, we are still on our mark. 11 wins. 19 left, need 11 wins to avoid 100 losses. Astros' magic number now for the AL West is down to 7. Their magic number to clinch the number 1 seed in the American League is 13. Spoiler time, folks. Take down Verlander tomorrow. Magic number 11. Got 12 yesterday, down to 11. By the way, Dermis Garcia, 291, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, 21 games. I mean, how is this not a guy that you're looking at and you're saying, I got to see this. I want to see more of this. That's a 963 OPS he's sporting. 963 in 21 games. Let's go. Seth Brown actually, and that's something that I wanted to see. Like, dude, you're 30. Ray, sun has come out. Can you tell the lighting changes?
Yeah, I just was about to notice that. It's like, here comes the sun from the Beatles is starting to play.
The sun comes out. Seth Brown, hey, you're 30 years old. This is your chance to play every day. Not to be this, hey, he's left-handed, he hits some home runs, and he hits 220. This is your chance to play every day. You got to make contact and hit home runs. You got to finish strong. Seth Brown, his last 12 games, hitting 345 dingers. 345 dingers. Finish strong. You're getting this opportunity. Seize the moment, my man. All right, yesterday we taped an interview with Scott Emerson, our pitching coach, that you were supposed to hear yesterday on A's Cast Live, but obviously we had the issues, the technical issues. So here it is, our interview with the pitching coach, Scott Emerson, down in Houston. Well, now joining us on A's Cast Live, it's the pitching guru, Scott Emerson, and he's going to teach us about the science of pitching. How are you in Texas?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
We're doing well as we're, looking at the final games of the season. What's it like for you guys as you're trying to finish this thing out? And, of course, you're trying to do it on a positive.
Yeah, all our guys are trying to go out there and continue to compete, stay healthy, get through, hopefully learn some things from their experiences on the mound. You got a lot of young guys who, haven't pitched in the major leagues and some guys who are in, their second and third years. So, just trying to understand how to get through a season. Some guys got through a great season last year, like Cole Irvin. And in 2020, he didn't have a season. So he's working on 2 good seasons in a row and, constantly checking in on him and his health and how he's doing. And, trying to get our guys to understand that, we're also big picture thinking about this organization's future.
That is that you talk about the science of the game. There is something to that when you think about pitching an entire season where you're getting 30-something starts. It's about your health. It's about your mental health. There's a lot that goes into taking care of yourself, your body, and your mind. Just talk about how you try and educate guys to be able to do that year after year after year, because it is not easy to do.
Well, from my days in the minor leagues, all the pitchers could ever think about were getting to Double-A, and then they'd all of a sudden they'd get to Double-A, and some of them would stall out a little bit in Double-A, and you were always thinking, hey, if we could get them out of Double-A, a change of scenery can help. Well, when you're in the big leagues and you're with one team, there is no change of scenery, so it's pretty much Groundhog Day every day. How am I going to deal with coming to the park every day, the same ballpark, the same trips, around the same group of people? And, it is a grind, and it's a mental grind. And that mental toughness shows up that, for me, you go out there and you just think about your job. You think about the things that you're supposed to do each and every day. You start out with having a routine. What do you do in the morning time? Do you get up? Do you go eat breakfast? Do you sleep? What time do you eat lunch? What time's dinner? What time is stretch? There is a routine that everybody should incorporate, but then you got to have that mental toughness and the ability to deviate from that routine. Once that routine becomes maybe superstitious, then I think guys get in trouble. They feel like they got to do certain things every day. You got to be able to be flexible. And that's one of the things, you're preaching to your guys is, the flexibility of doing something and the big picture thinking of, we're not just thinking about today, we're thinking about the future of not only the pitcher's career, but the future of the organization. So a lot of it is, finish strong, work hard each and every day, do the things that you're always doing, and then, learn from each and every day. I always say, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. You got to be learning from mistakes. And if you keep making those same mistakes over and over again, they say that's the definition of insanity, doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. So we want good results and positive results. So a lot of it, like you said, starts with mental toughness each and every day, coming to the ballpark, being ready to go and being able to cope with your surroundings.
I recently ran into Cole Irvin after his last bullpen session before his last start, which was really good because the one before wasn't, and he knew it. And he talked about refining some of his pitches down in the bullpen with everything that you guys got down there and that you work on. There's a big difference between learning a new pitch and refining a pitch. Talk about how much refining you do with a guy in a full season.
Yeah, you're always constantly, for me, when you're, trying to get guys to master that delivery and master the way they throw that ball, then the pitches generally show up. You look at guys who, struggle with breaking balls more times than not. It's not the breaking ball that they're struggling with. It's where they're throwing the breaking ball. They either bail out, meaning their front shoulder rotates before the hips, and their arms drag a little bit, creating a bigger shape than what you really want out of a curveball. So I always feel like when you go back and you're able to keep your delivery under control, and it's your delivery, it's nobody else's delivery. You get your head down into the action, you finish off the pitch, all your pitches will play. And I think, and then you got, some grip changes, some pressure point changes on some pitches. And, Cole came into the bullpen with a good idea of getting back to, his dominant pitch for a while has been his two-seam fastball. And, it's kind of been up in the zone a little bit for him and maybe not moving the way he'd like it. And, we've worked on the slider the last few starts as well. And, he's a great fastball changeup pitcher. He's the definition of hitting his time and pitching his disruption of timing. And working on those contact pitches, the sinker and the changeup, and getting the separation and speed, moving away from each other. That's his game. And then, when he incorporates that good breaking ball and he's able to get that thing in the dirt, then that takes Cole to a whole nother level.
And you have some young guys who are just getting their feet wet in Major League Baseball. And we're seeing two of them here in Texas, and Waldachuk and now Sears. What are your expectations for them down the stretch?
Well, one, you want to get them through the season, finishing strong, keep their starts alive. It's kind of hard sometimes because you get a guy from a whole different organization, and you want to kind of watch and learn what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. Generally, it's 3 or 4 starts before, I like to get in there and start talking to the guys and have them actually tell me, their philosophies and their thoughts. I think the first, 3 or 4 starts are kind of for them. We traded for them for a reason. Our front office acquired these guys because, they want them to be pieces. And I think, at some point you let them go out there and pitch their game. And then at some point, now you dig in and, you use your analytics department and you talk about each guy and how we're going to move forward to get them to reach their maximum potential. But, both of those guys have a good ceiling for me. They generally throw strikes. They mix their pitches well. They've got a good foundation. I think it's just taking them and building on that foundation. You build the house, you build the foundation first, and then after you build that house and the foundations comes the furniture and what type of windows you want and all that type of stuff. And that's kind of the analytics side of it is, all right, where are we going to go with what these guys can do? And then also, for me, the minor leagues, I've spent a lot of years there. I know what the minor leagues are all about, but it's different when you get to the big leagues because these big league hitters actually tell you what you need to be doing. And you have to understand that as well. You might not be able to just throw fastballs by a major league hitter like you could throw a fastball by a minor league hitter. You might have to actually execute the command. You might have to have that change of speeds. So they think that, he may be throwing a slider, then boom, you beat him up top with that good fastball. So, the minor leagues helps you get your pitches right, but the major leagues will tell you how you need to use your pitches.
We can go on Baseball Savant and see which pitches are being thrown, and we can look at different spin rates and stuff. Obviously, your guys' analytics is much more sophisticated. The one thing that I have noticed with Waldachuk, and it's kind of like my golf game, there's certain shots that I have a love-hate relationship. When they're going good, it's great. When it's not going good, it's a disaster. I've seen the last 2 starts, him not throw that Vulcan change as much as when we first saw him. And I know he has said after games sometimes there's not the feel for it. Does he have a love-hate relationship with his changeup? Because when he does have that changeup and he does have confidence in it, boy, he's a different guy.
Well, I'd like to think not, but maybe so. That's something that we'll really dive into. I've been talking to him, and we've been talking to him about how special his changeup really is. And he's got a really good slider and curveball as well, and that good fastball. We just got to hone in on that command. Last night he just missed some spots. He's trying to go outer third, and he missed too many pitches on the inner third. He threw a great slider to Garcia, wrapped him around his feet. He swung over top of it. He tried to go back to it a second time and left it middle in, and he hit the home run off him. So, that's the part of, understanding that, hey, this is Major League Baseball. These are the best hitters in the world. And for you to be one of the best pitchers in the world, you just got to execute your pitches. They kind of tell us what they can do and what they can't do. That's what the data is there for. We look at the data, and if you can't execute what the data says to do, and you're trying to constantly go into a hitter's strengths, well, now the hitter gains a little bit more of a success rate off you, and now you're really going to have to execute those pitches or beat them to the spot. And last night for Waldy, he just left a few pitches on the inner third that he was trying to go on the outer third. And those were just mistake pitches for him. But when he executes his pitches, he's going to be a dominant force.
I made the prediction earlier this year that there was going to be a tipping point and that bullpens would just completely run out of gas, and there wasn't the September call-ups to save them, and that we have a lack of starting pitch. We have a lack of starters going deeper into games. We have more usage of our bullpens than ever before. And once again, you're not getting saved by September call-ups. And my prediction was right. We're seeing it with a bunch of teams that their bullpen numbers in September are horrific. Their guys are gassed. What are you seeing? How's your bullpen doing? Because, the cavalry's not coming. What you got is what you got.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. You look at how baseball has trended to the, what I call the five and dive starter. Not only though, a lot of guys are pitching more to swing and miss around. This is all of baseball, not any team in particular, but you're going out and you're pitching more to swing and miss. And what comes more with swing and miss just comes more pitches per inning. And then next thing you know, the data always says, you really don't want to face a hitter a third time if you don't have to. And then you got to decide, okay, is it worth bringing in the reliever, or how long can our starter keep going to save the bullpen? And, it's a tough subject. It's a tough, sticky situation on the fact that, yes, it's sometimes you can be leaning on your bullpen. The tough part is, when you're five and diving often, you got to expect, 3 or 4 guys to pitch really good, and that's hard to do as well. But, that's where the game's at. I do think, Major League Baseball could look at roster sizes again, because, when you're dealing in a business like this, in my opinion, you don't want to hurt anybody. You want people to have active careers, but at some point in time, you gotta look at the big picture thinking again, and try to, like you said, when our guys are pitching good, we want them out there, and when they're not pitching as good as they can be, then you're trying to win the game too. So, not saying there's a catch-22 in it, but the game and the numbers do tell you how you should be doing things, and numbers don't lie. I mean, I know we can read them a little bit differently, right? But at the end of the day, I was always told 300 hitters at 300 at the end of the season.
I think about the year and the appearances by Domingo Acevedo. How proud are you of his season and his workload?
Well, I'm more proud of Domingo for his work ethic. We talked about, Domingo, and everybody will be the first to tell you, Domingo doesn't have what, some people call classic mechanics. But we've asked him to do some drill work, every other day or so, nice and easy to work on keeping his hand inside the strike zone a little bit longer to throw more quality strikes. And the guy has put in a lot of work at doing that. He does that. And then every other day, our bullpen catcher, Marcus Jensen, catches a little bullpen or a little flat ground with him, and encourages him about his location. So that's fun to watch as well. I get to watch him throw to Marcus, and I get to watch Domingo come up on the mound and do some dry work. And I'm hoping that has been giving him a lot of confidence, because he's gone out there and taken the ball every day, every time we've asked him to take it. And I just think the world of what Domingo has done for us this year.
Yeah, it's been, to go for, pitching 62 games when your career high was just 1 year, you had 10, to go to 62 has been absolutely something. I know we talked about this in the past about, the big thing for AJ Puck is, can he stay healthy in a season? And ding, 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 he has stayed healthy this year. That has been impressive. How do you rate his season, the big lefty in the pen?
I think AJ is we've asked a lot of AJ. Obviously, AJ has one of our bigger arms out of that bullpen. We've asked him to close some games. We've asked him to go 2 innings, and he's taken the ball and done that. I think he's, been fairly consistent. What you're kind of getting out of AJ every time he takes the mound. Obviously, when you start looking at somebody's body of work, then you can start dissecting, the future of AJ. What can we do to help him, maintain or get better? We never really want to go backwards, right? But sometimes it's hard to, get guys even better than they really are, So I think AJ has done an outstanding job this year. Last night, 2 scoreless innings, some punch outs. Got into the action really well. We'll see how he's feeling today. That's the one thing too that, when you're dealing with guys in, pretty much their first year full-time big league reliever is, okay, well, how are you feeling today? And that's a question after AJ plays catch that Marcus Jensen and I will go to him and get a feel for how he's doing. And I've been doing this long enough. When the guy says, I feel okay, that probably means he's not in there. The guy says, I feel great, that means, he wants back in there and he's feeling good about his body and about what he's doing. So, that's a process in itself going throughout the course of a year or two is listening to players talk back about how they're feeling each and every day, and for the most part, AJ's taking the ball every time we've given it to him.
Well, you're always asking people how they feel. I want to ask you how you feeling. You've been looking lean and mean these days. How's life for you?
Hopefully not mean. No, I just, I've been doing a better job this year of, watching what I eat. I know our skipper, Mark Kotze, was talking to one of our players, and I won't bring him up in spring training, but he said, I'm 45 years old or whatever he said, and I feel like I got a better body than you, and I'm not playing in the big leagues anymore. And so sometimes that hits home. You start to think, hey, we're leaders by example, and or hopefully leaders by example. Guys can look and say, well, if this guy can, put in the time to try to feel better about his body and about, the way he moves, and then maybe I ought to think about that. So, I kind of started thinking about that again. I've always fluctuated in my weight, one, because, I like to drink adult beverage at one time, which I don't do that anymore. I cut that out of my diet. And then I just try to eat a little bit healthier, and I feel good. The mental health of, us struggling a little bit. It's not always fun each and every day. You want guys to succeed so much that sometimes, you feel miserable. But other than that, the game is great. It's the greatest game in the world. I love this game of baseball. And that's the one thing I always think about is, and in my mental health is, my wife, my dog, my family, God, and the game.
And let's end on this. The rule changes. You're going to have 20 games left with the rules that we have, and next year they change, and it's going to be a pitch clock. And you're going to have to get pitches off in 15 seconds or 20 seconds with runners on. You only get to pick off to a base so many times when a batter's at the plate. How do you feel about the new rules, and how do you think your guys will adjust?
If Major League Baseball has done a lot of studying, and if they think that's good for the game, then hopefully it'll be good. I'm a little, I like to say I'm not old school, I'm not new school, I'm in school. So if it's the better the game to pick up the pace. Sometimes the pace does seem, like, hey, let's get a little bit more action. But I think, if you look at the action, it's we're pitching more to swing and miss. And, hitters are trying to do one thing, and in general, they're trying to, punish the baseball and exit velo. So what comes with that exit velo has come maybe a little bit bigger swing. And then the pitchers are pitching to swing and miss. So now you've got, in my opinion, pitchers execute good pitches on guys with big swings, the pitchers always have the advantage. But, the two pickoffs, it's, if we're trying to get some stolen bases going, then I understand. But what's going to happen is, in my opinion, is you're really going to change the dynamic of pitching mechanics. We're going to really need guys to be, 1-3 or better. You might be able to be a little slower and under control to the plate when you have those two pickoffs, but when you lose those two pickoffs, you're going to have to, speed it up. You're going to just have to do it. Last night we had a stolen base against us, and, my watch had us around 1-5, and that 1-5 was a guy who's able to get a jump knowing that you can't pick off. That goes to the advantage to the base runner. So, as that changes, we're going to have to adapt and change. And, the runner at second base, how far can that runner really get off second base before you have to make a decision of, okay, am I going to pick him off? So the secondaries might be a little bit bigger at second base. So, the shift for me, I mean, we've been shifting since Earl Weaver and the Baltimore Orioles back in the 70s. He's been moving Belanger and Bobby Grich all over the field. We've given hitters holes to hit to. And like I said, when you're trying to take big swings and maybe hit some homers, they don't want to take those holes. So, for me, I would have loved that the hitters would have created that opportunity and changed the game by taking what we give them. And there are, the best hitters in the world do that. They take what you give them. But I get it. I understand it. And for me, we just go with it. I mean, these are the rules. It's like when people complain about the baseballs, these are the baseballs that we got. Let's just play the game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it'll start to play out in spring, and then we'll see the numbers at the start of the year and see if it is making things better for baseball. Emo, it is always a pleasure. I mean, to have you on the show is fantastic. You are gold to us as a guest. Enjoy that Texas two-step, one more against the Rangers, then 4 in Houston, and we'll see you back in Oakland.
Thanks for having me.
Emo. Love me some Emo. He's the best. He said some things there I feel like cutting up and maybe getting into in the postgame show, Ray. I've been telling you, Ray, I don't know how much you listen to the show. And Adam Amin's from Fox Sports. He's going to join us coming up here, right?
Yep.
I've talked a lot about how we're getting to, I call it the tipping point, where you've exhausted these bullpens. And your strategy was always bring the September call-ups, and that would save you. But that's not coming. So this is the year you're finally going to see it implode. And you just heard the pitching coach for the A's. We've had Eno Saris on from The Athletic, who joins us every week. He'll be on tomorrow, who talked about how teams have exhausted their options with their bullpens. They're done. They're taxed. Nobody else is coming to help them. They're struggling. I mean, the A's bullpen's been struggling. Look at that. We're throwing out guys last night. If you haven't been following it, there's people probably going, who is this? Who do you got? And what did he say right there? Well, maybe it's an extra roster spot. Yeah. Instead of saying, give me more innings from my starters, they want more roster spots. They want more pitchers. To fix the problem is right in front of you. You need the usage of, if starters are here and bullpens are here, just over the years, it's gone like this. And all of a sudden, the bullpen usage is matching the usage of the starters. And what's happened is that whole theory of bringing a bullpen guy, once again, this is the bullpen. And if you can't see this at home, I apologize. You could be watching on YouTube, on the A's YouTube channel, or on on our Twitter account, AthleticsCast24. But if you're just listening, I'll make sense for both. You've taken the bullpen usage, and because there was that belief, and the data showed them that the arm coming out of the bullpen is going to be more successful against a hitter that has already seen a pitcher 2 or 3 times. Okay. Well, what happens over time is you start exposing that reliever more and more and more and more and more, and now the bullpen innings have gotten to a point where they're matching up with the starters' innings. That data doesn't exist anymore because now the relievers are worse. You pitch them more. Now the hitters are seeing the relievers more. More relievers means really less better arms. Starters have better arms than relievers long term. So you've exposed your relievers more than ever before, hence that number where the relievers had the advantage. Well, now that you're pitching them as much as starters, volume-wise, if a guy goes 5 innings, that means the bullpen's got to pitch 4. If a guy goes 4 innings, the bullpen's got to pitch 5. Well, now that total bullpen is being exposed, and they don't have answers. These guys with their Harvard degrees. Where's your Yale degree now, data scientist? Because the dumb San Jose State guy's been telling you this isn't going to work. And I said, this is the year. And you won't be able to use COVID. You won't be able to use the lockout. Your flat out data is going to lie. And then you're going to make and let me tell you something. Smart people never like to be told they're wrong. So they're going to come up with every excuse why they're not wrong. But excuse me all you want. Numbers show it. Your bullpen stink. And now you don't have September call-ups to cover your behind. And so someone like me is going, ha ha, told you so. And now what's your next thing? You want to go to owners? You go and ask owners for more roster spots. That means payrolls go up. Good luck with that one. You fought for years. We gave you 1 extra. These jokers in the front office they'd take 34 roster spots. And they would build these bullpens that, build them like these fancy bullpens so you can have 8,000 guys down there just so you can do what you want. But you know what? We're not allowing it. And now we're creating rules against it. We're legislating against your style because front offices have made our game boring. You've made us beer league softball. That's what you've made us. Home runs, strikeouts, and walks. And now we're having to set rules to combat you. Congratulations. That New York, the commissioner's office, has to make new rules because of how you've made our game. You should be proud. So no more. You watch the huff and puff and blow your house down reliever. Let's just see how much he's taking when he only gets 15 seconds. A lot of these guys like 30 seconds, 26 seconds between pitches. Not anymore. You get 15. Saw it the other day. Great example. Pete Fairbanks, Bo Bichette, end of the Jays and Rays contest. Pete Fairbanks throwing 100 miles an hour. And I'm sitting there at the gym. I'm watching. In my head, I'm counting. He's like almost 30 seconds between pitches. Got to a 3-2 count. Bichette failed a few off. And actually, there was runners on base, so he would have got 20 seconds. But he was going well over 30. And he's like getting around the mound. He gets back on. 100 fell off. Then he get the ball, wait 30-plus seconds. Not anymore. Let's just see how it evolves. Can't wait. And, oh, yeah, what did the Rays and the Brewers and all these teams survive off? Ray, you tell me. You're a fantasy baseball player, right?
I dabble.
What did the Rays and the Brewers really excel in September?
I mean, with the Rays, with their opener.
And the Brewers were masters at it. What did they excel in September?
I would say just relying on that call-up talent.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I thought you were going to say opener. Yeah, September call-ups. That's how the Brewers survived. The Brewers exhausted everything till they got to September, and they went, oh, thank God, bring all these guys up. And then now they had all these new arms. That's how they survived because they neglected their starters. They ran their bullpen into the ground. Now you can't do that. Rays did it. And by the way, has anybody sent more guys to the IL pitching-wise than the Rays? And we've made the rule you can only option these guys so many times. So we're basically legislating the rules, and football did it. Man, when I was growing up, cornerbacks used to be able to mug wide receivers. And you wanted that physical corner who could get right up on the wide receiver, put his hands on him, jack him, run into the – football went, nope, that's bad for our game. Can't do that anymore. So now, wait a minute, okay, I really just need a bunch of fast guys playing corner. Bill Parcells said it. With the new rules, the Deion Sanders of the world are dead. I just need fast guys, a bunch of them. They're going to get burnt. The rules are against them, but I just need fast guys. So you as a league can change how they build the rosters. And you can change how the game's played to make it more interesting for who? Us, the consumer and the fan. Thank God. Less about you sabermetrics fantasy baseball people and more us fans. I love it. Is Adam here?
He said around 245.
Oh, okay. 245. Yeah, so that's where we're at. That's why I'm saying do not listen to people in uniform. They don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't care about the pace of play. And to be fair to them, they shouldn't. Their job is to win games, whether it takes 5 hours or 2.5. Their job is to win baseball games. That's what we want them to do. Front offices, we want them to win baseball games. So, just like when you do something that's good for the game and you make it better, you can make mistakes as a commissioner's office where you screw up like what we have going now. Major League Baseball could have stepped in a long time ago and said, listen, we have this 4 or 5 years of clearly evidence that our record books have been screwed up. We're going to do something about it. But because they didn't, and they just went, well, we made a lot of money, and, the game kind of got back on track. We're all just going to ignore it. We now look at someone like Aaron Judge, who is clearly, he's been drug tested multiple times, is doing something that's historic. But that 4 years of Bonds, Sosa, I mean, look at the record books. It's Bonds, 3 guys, clearly roided out, changed the record books. And because they didn't do anything about it, you can change whatever you want. I mentioned it's like laws. Laws are made. Laws can be wrong. Well, you change those laws. Laws seem to be far more important than the baseball record books. My God, some of the people who cover our game like, it's in the books, it's the record books. We can alter anything. We're human beings. We adapt, we evolve. And you could clearly have done stuff to change to say, listen, Barry Bonds has admitted to a federal grand jury that he was on steroids. Mark McGwire admitted to Bob Costas on MLB Network that he was on steroids. You clearly could have done something for the record books that would make what Judge is doing now incredible, what he's doing, because he's been drug tested. Can I say 100% he's clean? We'll never be able to do that in our world. But as long as he's getting tested, I got to go with he's clean. And he's doing something historic. And I hear all this, well, it's the record books. You can change record books. You can change anything in life. You can right wrongs. Can we right wrongs? Well, we do it in life. You remember there was people in this country who weren't allowed to vote. I don't mean to get too into history, but there were people who weren't allowed to vote. There were people who weren't allowed to go to school with each other. We changed all that, right? I think we can change the baseball record books, but because you haven't. But let's get back to what's happening in play. The fact that you can change the rules, they've done it in football, they've done it in basketball, they've done it in hockey, change the rules to make our game better, more watchable, to have what we didn't have last night. 3 hours and 40 minutes of bad entertainment. We talked about it with you, Ray. 3 hours and 7 minutes. Red Sox, Yankees, not one home run. 3 hours and 7 minutes. Not one home run.
Yeah. It's incredible.
That's bad. I don't know if anybody noticed this. This is the things that I notice now. Did you notice all those fancy suites behind home plate that cost a lot of money after the 3 hour mark? And this is what I tell everybody about you people, and I will say you people, I like extra innings. Go look at the fancy suites that cost a lot of money. They're all gone. They were all gone. People got to go to work. Kids got to go to school. Who has 3? You know, the bottom line is the people who call my show and the people who have that opinion that they don't care how long baseball games are, and I don't care how long, guess what? The majority of them, I would say, and I I am definitely spitballing here, but I'd say the majority of them aren't married and don't have kids. They're selfish. You can sit in the stands all night long. You don't care. You don't have to get up and take care of a kid and get him to school. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. I mean, you don't have that life. So you can sit there all night. I don't care how long a baseball game is. What? 3 hours and 40 minutes? Are you insane? I mean, was that really quality entertainment when you see a foul ball go into the stands and nobody's there in a new ballpark? Why? Because the people go home. They can't sit there for 4 hours. Remember, you got to drive to the ballpark before the game starts. You just don't magically show up to the ballpark and you're there. You got to drive. You got to park. Who knows how far you live from Arlington, the stadium in Arlington. And then you're going to sit there for 3 hours and 40 minutes. I mean, and then I got to drive home. So I got to commit 4.5 to 5 hours for a baseball game between two absolutely terrible teams. That's a joke. Get rid of that. So that's why I do not listen to people in uniform. They're not selling tickets. They get paid. They get paid whether you show up or not. Can you imagine if guys got paid based on time and attendance? You know, like most people get paid on production. You know, players get paid on what they have done in the past. They don't get paid on what they're doing now. Can you imagine, Ray, if players were paid based on time and production?
That would be an interesting topic to explore. By the way, Adam is with us.
I will ask Adam as he joins us once again. Adam, how are you?
What's happening, gents? How are you?
We were just talking about our wonderful game last night between the Rangers. That was a game between two really bad teams that went 3 hours and 40 minutes. And, I mean, basically everybody in the stadium was gone. And I know there's a lot of people who are in uniform now who don't like the new rules. And I go, wow, can you imagine if they were paid by the time of the game and the production in the game, how much that would change everybody's attitude?
I imagine that would be the case, right? I mean, I get the feeling that the almighty dollar changes a lot of things in terms of perception and feel, so I don't think you're too far off there, my friend.
All right, so we got a national game. What are the big selling points for you guys tonight on the broadcast between the Astros and the Athletics?
Well, obviously you start with Houston, and I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't already know, but, you know, with the magic number down to 7, with the way that Kyle Tucker has played, his, you know, march toward 100 RBIs, Yordan Alvarez putting together another really impressive offensive season, and then Lance McCullers. You know, this is only his 6th start since coming back from the arm injury that he suffered last year in the playoffs, and he's looked very sharp. You know, the pitching depth for Houston is something that always seems to come up with how Verlander's pitched, with how Valdez has pitched, with how Garcia, he's been more than serviceable as like a middle of the rotation guy. There are teams around the league that would kill to have, you know, Luis Garcia or Jose Urquidy on their rotation right now as a 1, maybe, you know, perhaps as a 1, definitely as a 2 or a 3. And, you know, the depth of this staff is typically what carries them deep in the playoffs. So that'll be a discussion that we have. And typically when you have a game that is a little bit one-sided in terms of the standings or what have you, you try to connect it to the big picture as much as possible. So we'll try to talk about the big picture as much as possible. And then you hope for a good game, obviously, too. And on the A's side of things, we just got done talking with Cops, and I think there's a lot of positives to take away from certain guys. I understand that, you know, when you come in having seen every game this year and you're like, all right, here we go. It's a 50-win team, a 90-loss team trying to avoid 100. We get that. But part of the benefit of coming in for the one and done national broadcast is that you do get to focus on some more positive things. You do get to think about the future of the organization without killing them. You know, you establish, yes, this is a team that might lose 100 games this year. We're well aware how far back they are. This is not a playoff team. You don't have to sugarcoat that, but you don't have to kill them either. And you can at least look for positives that the organization is showing, or that at least the individual players, if it's not the organization, then let's talk about some of the individual players that are contributing or attempting to contribute, all the rookies that are on display right now for the Athletics. Those are things that you typically end up talking about.
Yeah, I one thing that, from a national perspective for me, and we talked to Steve Sparks, broadcaster for the Astros before you came on, former longtime big league pitcher, was whether you're looking at the Astros or let's say Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, is for the first time going into the postseason, you're going to have a bye. So how do you handle the off time? How do you handle giving your players rest? Because you want guys to rest, but you also want them to stay sharp and be ready to go when it's time for the playoffs. Do you find that interesting that we're going to, for the first time, have tournament play and a bye? I mean, this is something we're normally talking about in the NFL.
Yeah, we're talking about the NFL, and in baseball, this is like how the Korean League works. I think a couple of years ago when a lot of us got exposed to Korean baseball, maybe for the first time, we saw how their championship series and their playoff system works. Like if you're the championship team or the number one seed, basically in Korean baseball, you're waiting for the other teams to finish like a tournament ladder style to get to the championship and to play the number one seed. Like you're kind of getting into that mode where you're going to have a week, maybe 8 days between games. And, this is a strange thing to have to deal with. Now, like for the Astros, they're in the middle of 17 straight days with a game. A lot of teams are in the midst of stretches like that right now with the condensed schedule and getting down to the wire here with only, 19, 20 games, whatever it is for some of the teams around baseball. Like a lot of managers are going to have to start thinking about that. The teams that lead divisions, the teams that are number 2 in their respective leagues right now. So the Mets are going to have to worry about this maybe. Maybe the Braves will if they can continue to make this push towards the NL East. The Dodgers are obviously going to have to worry about it. Likely the Yankees and Astros are going to have to worry about this. I think it becomes a matter of, are you going to have some intra-squad games? Are you going to try to get guys loose? We've asked managers in the past, like, would you want to bring in a AAA guy and get, use them? And you're like, well, do I want some AAA guy who's trying to make a name for himself in an intra-squad game, throwing a heater inside against somebody, and all of a sudden you got to, your number 2 hitter is dealing with a bruised hand going into the playoffs. Like, you don't want to deal with that. So I think there's some interesting ways to go about it. I do think there'll be some intra-squad stuff. I think you'll try to basically run reps for, your guys in that interim, that week off that you're going to have before the playoffs start. I think managers are going to have to be creative with not only how they get guys at bats and keep guys fresh with swings against live pitching, but for those pitchers, there's always this rust versus rest theory in multiple sports, but I don't think there's anything to it. I think there's too many variables to say, well, the rust is better than the rest, or, you want guys to rest, but you want to get them out there. I don't think there's any proven method, even if numbers say there are. I think there's too many variables to pin down a great method for it. So I'll be fascinated to see how different managers try to navigate through that 1 week.
No doubt. And then how they play, right? Because, if you go and you win, no one cares. But if you go and let's say you're a big favorite, I mean, let's face it, the year that the Dodgers and the Astros have had, they're going to be favorites. If they go out and dump their first round, boy, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny there.
Of course there is, and not only because of how, a flame out would be perceived around baseball, around sports, but, you add in the element of Dusty Baker, who's desperately trying to get the one thing in his career that has eluded him as a manager, in his managerial career, to win a World Series. He wanted, he came back for a 1-year extension. That's another fascinating thing. Like James Click, the GM, and Dusty Baker, the manager for the Astros, don't have a contract for next year. So what does that mean? Like, are they going to wait to see what happens? And if they win, then they'll bring them back. Or if they make a deep run, then they'll bring them back. Or if they, let's say they lose to the Yankees in the ALCS, does that mean you're going to take Dusty Baker out and take James Click out and try to change things? Or is it just a matter of, we have one of the most talented rosters in baseball that just happen to lose? Like, there's so many, like we said, variables in a lot of these things. I'm not sure how organizations perceive some of these things. When you have the most talent, when you have the pieces capable of winning in the playoffs, and you don't, how is that going to be perceived? So again, I'm very intrigued to learn what the tendencies of major organizations that win are when it comes down to, well, you've gone to the ALCS 5 years in a row, maybe 6 years in a row this year, but you've come away with one World Series that a lot of people, have some second and third thoughts about. How is that going to be perceived?
And one World Series win for the Astros, not to say that a World Series win doesn't change everybody's lives, but one World Series win as in a championship for the Astros. What that would do for these guys, you mentioned Dusty Baker. It just cements it, even though a lot of people think it's already cemented, but it puts him right into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But for a lot of these guys,
the elite category, right? Like it puts him into the elite of the elite now because he's all-time top 10 in wins and he's got the World Series. I think you're right.
yeah, because there is that one glaring thing. I mean, we saw Dusty for years. I mean, he's a former A's player, but we saw Dusty for years here in San Francisco as a manager. He is missing that one piece of winning a championship. And then all these other guys that have been carrying the cheating scandal on their shoulders, whether it is Altuve or it's Bregman, it's like they can finally ditch that. And for their potential, because I do think Jose Altuve will be a Hall of Famer someday. I mean, it would be amazing what a World Series victory would do for this franchise.
I agree with you. And listen, for those of us around baseball, like we kind of understand and have contextualized the 17 championship, right? We've kind of all come to the conclusion like, yeah, none of us really lean into it too heavily. But we know they're a really good team, so maybe they would have won anyway. But that's what's disappointing about them because why did they need to do the things they did during that postseason run to win? Because they were good enough to do good things without having to, cheat basically through the playoffs. I think a lot of us in baseball are kind of like, we get it. They're a really good team. I'm not concerned about Jose Altuve's legacy or Yordan Alvarez's, future. Kyle, like these guys are great players. We all know that. But you're absolutely right. If they win this year, and now all of a sudden nobody can really pin that kind of weight on the guys that have been around, the Altuves, the Bregmans of this roster, then yeah, I think it does change the perception. So it's really important for Dusty Baker. I do think it's very important for a lot of these guys individually as well.
Well, you bring up context, and I'm glad you have, because we've been talking a lot about that because for some reason our sport can't get it. You look in the NBA, guy scores 30 points on a bad team, guy scores 25 points on a good team. They're going to say, guy on the bad teams, it's a stat stuffer. He's not the MVP. Same thing, quarterback in the NFL throws a bunch of touchdowns on a bad team. Nobody cares. But when you get to baseball, they try and tell you there is no context. We're just going to look at the numbers. And if a guy's on a bad team, it's not his fault. And you're like, wait a minute, there's things to it. And I bring it up all the time since we're in the West. I talk about that 14-game losing streak for the Angels that sunk their season and got Joe Madden fired. Shohei Ohtani was brutal. He had a .92. He was 0-2 as a pitcher with a 9 RBI, with a 9 ERA. No one brings up the context of his numbers. Have you ever thought about that when we're dealing with something like Shohei Ohtani?
I would say I think about it more now than I have in years past because now because there's so much information in these debates and people can kind of point to the one number that they lean to. And by the way, cherry picking numbers to make a point isn't anything new. Like everybody does that. Everybody's done that for years. They've done that in political debates of the 1800s. Like this isn't new stuff by any means, right? But what it is trying to understand when there is all this information, how do you parse through it? And to me, at the end of the day, you're going to value certain things more than I value certain things. And I'm going to value certain things more than you value those same things. And that's okay. But if I'm looking at what's important to me is, are you playing meaningful baseball and playing well while playing meaningful baseball? And I think that's where the line for me right now is if we're talking about Judge versus Ohtani. Because as soon as you started talking about this, Bud, I was like, yeah, this really fits into the AL MVP argument right now. Yeah. And Shohei is doing things that's never been done. And I can respect that. As an individual, I can respect that. I still look at an MVP as somebody who's lifting all the boats in his particular ocean. And that's what Aaron Judge continues to do. And he's also doing something that nobody's doing in his game in 2022. He's 20 home runs ahead of the rest of the field. And they're playing meaningful baseball. Even in August when they were terrible, part of the reason they won 10 games is because Aaron Judge was still hitting the baseball. And he's still doing that, and everybody else is catching up, and the Yankees look like they're back on track for the time being. So if that's how we're contextualizing that, I absolutely agree. So for me, the value is in Judge right now. That doesn't mean what Shohei is doing can't be amazing, and you can't appreciate it, and you can't enjoy it, and you can't praise him for it. You can do all of those things while still recognizing that the value of the game still is in wins and losses and who's playing well for a team that needs to win games. And I think Judge is doing that right now.
Yeah, I got some people who come at me and they go, but it's not his fault the Angels are losing. And I go, well, yeah.
It's not his fault. That absolutely is not his fault. He's the best player on that team, and he's one of the great talents that we've seen in a long time in this sport. And you can say that and still say that based on the parameters of what you and I value for an MVP candidate, still point for me to Judge. And that's okay. That doesn't mean Shohei Ohtani isn't an amazing player. Coming second in the MVP should carry some kind of weight, and it oftentimes does, because guess what? That gets written into contracts now. You finish top 5 in MVP voting, you get this 6-figure bonus or whatever it may be. It's not like it's not valued. It's valued by front offices. It's valued by players themselves. It's valued by coaches, and it's valued by fans. That doesn't mean you can't put bigger value on the impact on winning as well.
I also like to remind people that Shohei Ohtani was a free agent, and he chose the Angels.
That's a good
He wasn't drafted about the.
He could have been in Chicago. He could have been in a couple different places. Right?
Yeah, the whole it's not fair. It's not fair. Hey, he chose them. He could have gone anywhere. Hey, let's end on this because I know you got the broadcast coming up. The new rules. So we have 19 more games of long 3-hour shifting, 19 games. Are you excited about the new rules? How do you feel about them?
I'm personally excited. I think there's going to be some adjustments that you have to make. We were talking about the shift rule in terms of banning the shift. You're going to have to do something maybe about the infield, because now teams are going to kind of adjust their infield dirt. So maybe they can position infielders a little bit differently than other teams. I think there's going to have to be some uniformity to this. And every team is going to try to look for a loophole or an advantage, as has been the case for a century in this sport, and that's fine. But I'm excited about it. I think the pacing, the way I've seen it impact in the minor leagues, I know the minors are a different sport than Major League Baseball. I get that. You're doing things to try to enhance the product. I know that, listen, good pitching, great pitching isn't going away. Guys are going to continue to throw max effort. Guys are going to continue to throw nasty splitters and sliders and two-seamers and sinkers. We just talked about Ohtani, who's as nasty as anybody, throwing 101 and having inside run on it. But because of that, because you can't close Pandora's box of velocity and movement now, we need to counteract the speed of the game. And this is a way to do it. Every other sport does it. Every other sport looks for ways to implement and speed and pace and make the game and entertainment product more entertaining. I think Major League Baseball is on the right track with some of these things, and it'll take a couple of years to make all the adjustments, but I think they're moving in the right direction for fans of my ilk.
Well, I got to tell you, I know, broadcast, a national broadcast, you have a lot going on today. So for you to take the time to be on with us, we always appreciate it. You're a fantastic guest. Thank you so much. And we will all be watching you tonight.
Sounds like a plan, buddy. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Adam.
You got it.
Yep, we'll be watching A's up against the Houston Astros. Yeah, 7 games. 7 games is the magic number for them to win the AL West. I mean, at some point, we're always going to be bitter about these guys, but you got to give them their due. And a lot of these guys are different now. I mean, you're not going to, you're always going to look at Altuve, Bregman. I mean, Correa's gone. Beltran's gone. I mean, what are you going to look at? Tucker? No. Verlander? No. Valdez? No. Urquidy? You're not going to look at these guys as that. So you're not going to forget and still boo the hell out of them. I'm totally fine with that. It's just, watching it, you do have to respect what these guys keep doing. Because every single year when we're in the offseason doing A's Cast Live and it's, hey, we got our new list of the top 30, how we rank the farm systems, no one's ever ranking them high, and they keep producing all these guys. Somehow, some way, they keep producing all of these players. And they let Correa go. In comes Pena. Pena comes right in and wow. Tucker's going to have 100 RBIs. Yordan Alvarez, one of the biggest steals. It's very impressive. And they're not going away anytime soon. I mean, if there's any team that you could say it's a year-to-year deal. I understand that. And it's very hard. I mean, what the Dodgers have done, what the Yankees have done, what the Astros have done, when you do it year after year after year, that is so hard to do. But the Mariners now, are they a team that's going to be on a run here that you got to deal with? So now for the A's, you're now chasing not one but two. I'm not going to be chasing the Angels. They're 7 straight years under 500. Longest bad streak in baseball. 7 straight years. Yeah, how about that? I came up with that last night. It's not Ohtani's fault. Well, it's not this guy's fault that they're losing. It's not his fault. Well, he chose them. There's 30 teams he could have gone to. There wasn't one team that went, I don't want that guy. I don't remember that in the recruiting process. I don't remember a bunch of teams going, him? I don't want him. Now I remember how stupid it was where there were scouts going, I don't think he can hit at this level. Yeah, these are the guys we listen to. Can we press the rewind? Rewind the tape. Let's go to all these scouts that were going to Japan, that came back from Japan and said, I don't know if he's going to be able to hit at this level. He's a better hitter than he is pitcher. Oh, but his pitching talent. Oh, yeah, his pitching talent. First, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. 2, he gives you 6 innings? He's a premier middle-of-the-order hitter every day. I almost, take the pitching away, give him a glove. You want value? How many hundreds of innings has he not played in? Remember, when you're DH and you get 4 at-bats, how many hundreds of innings does he not play in? He sits on the bench. So he can't help you. He's a super athletic big dude that sits on the bench and hits 4 times a game. What could he do for you if he didn't pitch? Once again, guy on a bat. Wins don't matter for a starter. Okay, then what does 6 innings every 5 days on a bad team mean? What's my return on investment on a guy that gives me 5 to 6 innings and I'm losing that game anyway? What is the value of that guy?
Well, for this year, it cost the Angels their manager.
0. Ray, 0. He's worth nothing. These starting pitchers that don't go deep in games and they don't win and their team sucks, your value to me, I could have a AAA guy that I pay minimum wage. What's the matter? I'm going to lose anyway. I mean, that's the funny thing. It's like people talk about, when writers complain about what salaries are. If I got a crap team, why am I going to be paying? I can pay the guy down in AAA minimum wage to give me what you give me for $5 million. I'm getting the same thing. That's with whole wins above replacement. I can find guys that are basically replacement level and not pay them $10 million a year because you're not much better. I mean, it's funny as a fan, you hate that, but if you own a business, you go, makes sense to me. I don't know anybody who owns a small business who says, I want to increase my payroll. It's like we expect sportsmen, business owners in these we expect them to be different than us in regular life, but it's not. I'm like, why would I want my payroll to be out of control? Stupid. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like Ohtani can play center field, but you got Trout. I get it. Play right field. What kind of value would I get out of Ohtani if he played right field every game? Or if he played first base every game? You ever thought about that, Ray?
I can't say I have, to be honest. I've always thought about him as a pitcher and a hitter, and eventually you might have to choose one or the other near the end point of his career. But yeah, hindsight being 2020, Townie, I don't know if the Angels 100% regret it, but it really hasn't turned up to be the peak year they thought they would have in this season.
Let's see. Angels, as of right now, are 61-82. I'm 61 and 82, and every 5 days I got this guy who goes 5-6 innings. What he goes last start? 5 innings? Wow. What value do I have? I can get Joe Schmo to give me that. Oh, but he struck out 10. What value? Whether he struck 10 guys out or walked 10 guys. Wait, but we lost anyway. And that's what the scary thing is when we talk value is that it's something that I don't like to talk too much about. But the value is putting people in uniform and playing games so you can make your TV money. 2020, the COVID year, when the players and the owners couldn't get along, and they finally said, all right, we're going to make you play 60 games. The only reason they did that was to get the TV money. Basically put humans in uniforms, put them on the field so we can get our TV money. That's your value. Baseball people try and put these values. That's weighted runs created plus. No, that's not your value. Your value is putting people on the field so I can make our TV money and I can sell tickets and sell beers and hot dogs and shirts. That's your value. Your value is not your value. Players think their value is as, oh, my work and what I do. That's not your value. Your value is so we can make money. And that's the bottom line. So a guy like Ohtani on a bad team pitching every 5 days, it really doesn't have that much value. But his ERA, his strikeouts, you're losing anyway. Now, he plays every day and plays right field. I can show you real value. That's where Aaron Judge plays every day. Once again, I don't think people think about this when I say hundreds of innings, he doesn't do anything. He's sitting there drinking Gatorade. Does that change my perspective? I like to be a perspective, bigger picture kind of guy. When I tell you Shohei Ohtani sits on the bench and drinks Gatorade for hundreds of innings, what does that mean to you, Ray?
I'm not 100% sure. It's like I never thought of it that way, I'll admit. But yeah, he's not fielding, and it's not a guarantee he's going to get hit every time, of course, when he goes up to the plate. Pitching, he's been trending downward throughout the season, but talking about it from a business sense, he brings in a buttload of international money for the Angels organization.
Ding, 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 ding. That's what he's worth. It's not his numbers. If someone really said, "What's Shohei?" Mike Petriello did an article last night on MLB.com comparing Judge and Ohtani. And of course, he's coming. The analytics guy wants to get away. The winning doesn't matter. And being on a winning team, it's about his end. Look at his value. Shohei Ohtani's value is purely dollars and cents. And he is worth a lot of money. That's why we were talking about, the Angels could trade him. Oh, really? No, they're not. They're not going to trade. He is worth so much. Ohtani is Judge to the Yankees is worth a lot of money. Ohtani to the Angels is worth millions of dollars. That's his value. Not every 5 days giving you 5-6 innings. But that's that I understand gets into the talk where fans go, just talk baseball. I don't want the money. But I'm just trying to give you the real. That's the real. By the way, what time does this game start?
4:20. Pre-game's on at 3:20.
I just looked at the clock and when it's 3:12, have I gone over?
We got some time. You don't have to be on with. I think Scott has you today at 3:20.
At 3:20. All right, so I need to get out of here, huh? All right. Adam Amin joined us. Scott Emerson and the great Steve Sparks from the Houston Astros. We want to thank them. Ray, thank you for being flexible and making this work as we're here at the Coliseum. I've been sitting here the whole time watching them break down the Bad Bunny set here. I mean, they got cranes here at the Coliseum. I mean, this concert must have been wild. So that's what I've been doing, and hopefully we'll be back in our normal A's studio tomorrow. But coming up next, A's Total Access, A's and the Astros, Game 1 of 4. Thank you for listening to A's Cast Live and watching.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home.